guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna put this crank in here. I'm gonna tell you what else I found as well. You know, I think I'm gonna put it in my last video before this actually about this thrust bearing right here and how it was rubbing on my crank. It was getting my crank all out of whack. So I'm gonna put some new bearings in there, and I can see it kind of has a groove right there. I'm not sure if you can pick it up on camera. Like, you see where it ate into the, like here it's like kind of a raised, and here's the groove. So like I said, I think that's from my thrust, my input shaft pushing this hard on my crank from it being too long. And if I had another crank, what I'd like to do is I'd like to just switch the crank out with another 6-liter, you know, with a 24X timing tooth, and just one that's a newer one that doesn't have this thick flange. I think that's all it needs to be done, you know. I think that's all you got to do, and it should be it looks like the same as the newer motors. Nothing's really changed. It doesn't look any, you know. So I inspected my cam. I gave it a nice rotate around a few times. I don't see anything wrong with it anywhere. It looks real mint. I pop it out of the, I pop my, this thing's been in there for about 2 years now. So I'm looking here on the bearing, right here on the cam bearings, and everything is good, even on the back right there. So I don't get the back cover on, so I don't want the cam to slide out. So I'm just gonna push it back in right there. So everything looks good on the cam. I'm just gonna put a little assembly lube on there. I'm gonna put some new bearings in here. And then I'm going to put the crankshaft back in there and see, hopefully it's not rubbing anymore and anything like that, because that was giving me some of my sparklies in my oil. And on these bearings, there's a tang right here on each side. Only on one side. There's not one on this side. So there's a little spot for your tang right there on each one, you know. And you notice on your thrust bearing, on the older small blocks, they used to be here in the back, and now on the LSs are right here in the center. And you'll notice how this one's, probably see better right back here, how this is smaller and this has got more meat. Like, this one's got more meat on it in the center because that's where the thrust bearing goes, here in the center. So just pointing it out to you. I'm gonna go ahead and put you on the tripod here, and we'll get started putting this crank in and see what we find. Okay guys, I got you on the tripod here, and I just want to go over how the bearings look and the differences between the top and the bottom on the crankshaft. So you'll notice where these bearings sit, there's a like a spot right here. Let me get you a look real quick. Now this is where the oil feeds up through the main bearing, whatever you want to call it, I guess, the crank bearing, main cap, whatever. So anyway, the oil comes up through here, and that's how you get lubrication in your bearings. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you the difference. First, I'm gonna show you the thrust bearing first. So this is the top of the thrust bearing. Notice there's no holes in the top. On the bottom thrust bearing, there's holes to let the oil in. So the bottom has the holes to let the oil in. The top is kind of sits on top like this. The thrust bearing, you notice the thrust bearing because it's got the sides. See, you notice the sides. It looks like a C. Boom. So that's the thrust bearing. Bottom, top. So here is the regular bearings on the other side here. So these don't have a C. They're just kind of a regular bearing. So here's the bottom, and all you gotta do is just line up the tang right here. This little tang right here goes on this side right up here, just like that. It'll snap right in there. Ka-chow, you know. And then the top, of course, the same way. Right on top. Boom. So bottom, with the holes of the oil. Top with no holes. And these are brand new King bearings. So these are King's bearings right here. These are good bearings. So, you know, made for LS motors. Just your typical stuff, you know. So I also got some assembly lube right here. I got from AutoZone. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give a little lube, just a little assembly lube on everything real quick. Just because this motor might be setting for a little bit. And I mean, it's just good practice to have a little assembly lube. But like I said, lubrication is better than none. You see it's already right here, it's green on top. So it's already like coming up. So, oh, that's because I didn't get a bearing there, dumbass. Don't mind me, guys. That's because there's no bearing there, you retard. So now I'm just making sure I got everything all seated down in there real nice and everything's happy. Which everything looks nice and happy. So now what I'm going to do is more assembly lube. You guessed it. More lube. So what you want to do is you just want to come in here real easy with it. I don't want to nick nothing up. Set it down just like that. Alright, I got you set up here. What we're going to do is we're going to torque everything down, just these inner bolts, down to 15 foot-pounds, just the inner ones right here. And we're going to do in sequence. Like here's the front of the motor. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's just do that real quick right now. Let's get it, got it set for 15 foot-pounds. So just one smooth motion. Click, click. Click, click. $15 foot-pounds ain't that much. So, ooh, that was real loose. 'Kay, so I'm gonna run back through one more time so I get the clicks. I don't know why I always do this, but 1, gee, see that first one moved a little bit. That one moved a little bit. Just wanna I just like to make sure I'm at a true 15 foot-pounds, like where they don't move. See, no movement there. No movement. Just gotta be real careful. Now I know everything is truly 15 foot-pounds, and it's all even. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. So now, what we gotta do is we have to torque it down 80 degrees. So I'm not sure what that's gonna go out to be. 80 degrees. So you have to get one of these fancy torque degree things right here. So we're just gonna go over here to 80 degrees. And hopefully everything works out fine, you know? That's all I can say. I've never used one of these before. Yeah, so I'm just going 55, guys. Can you see that? 55 seems to be working out pretty good. Because that's almost 90 degree turn on the 55. I think this one's done. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna get a 15. Let's try this again, guys, with this angle gauge. So it's the same order. Same order. So 53 degree torque. Let's see here. There's one. Right there, that's 18. So we'll give her a whirl. 18 foot-pounds. Just like that. Clickety clickety click. I like a little clickety click. Ain't no really science to it. There. We did it. That thing spins real nice. Really. Peace out.